name is Harry, and I'm from London.
It is a land of lush green valleys and rolling hills, far from the madding crowd. It was never hard to see why a man born into privilege and beset by tragedy should find solace here.
I think what started as an idea of me turning around and going, right, I've got a year off, I want to do something really constructive in my life. I want to do something that makes my mother proud. And someone says, right, go to Lesotho. It's like, where the hell's that?
Perhaps, though, it is easiest to characterize this as a journey, that of a very bruised young man who has gradually made sense of his life.
I never really dealt with what had actually happened, and so it was a lot of buried emotion. And for a huge part of my life, I just didn't even want to think about it. Now I can see exactly where I want to take it. I have huge amounts of passion for the causes and for the interests and charities that I'm involved with. Lucky me that I've got the Prince bit, so that I'm actually passionate and able to make a difference.
It's an incredible gift to have that talent, to have that ability to make people feel as if they are loved and they are appreciated and they are thought well of, that they matter. I haven't seen many people in my life being able to do that. His mother was one, Harry is another.
This then is the story of Harry's time in the Mountain Kingdom, of how he tried to help change a country.
What is it that you're making?
Those, obviously.
And how in the end, it changed him.
So easy to get caught up in all the negativity that goes on in this world. So yes, I would encourage everyone to do good, because then you can go to bed at night feeling good about yourself. The good stories are what make people tick every day. It's fun to be good, and it's boring to be bad.
You can see why it seemed like a good idea to pack him off here. He once looked like he might turn into the unofficial bad lad of the British royal family, so why not post him off to one of the most remote countries on Earth? But it has turned into an enduring love affair with a place and its people.
The last 10 years that I've been coming here, every single time we turn up somewhere, they're always singing. It's never shake hands. It's sing, dance, embarrass yourself. Everywhere I look, I can hear songs from 10 years ago in my head. To me, that's what this country is about. I mean, you just feel welcome everywhere you go. And the way they do that is by singing it rather than saying welcome. And it's unique, it's special. I love it.
A little over a decade ago, I got a call to come in here to Kensington Palace to talk about the possibility of filming with Harry in Lesotho. He'd probably say himself he was then a young man without much direction. In one sense, this is a film about just how much that has changed. Well, let's begin at the beginning. Who'd have believed it was you got a beard, you didn't have that before, you're older, wiser maybe. What's your recollection or what are your thoughts?
Absolutely incredible to think that all that time ago we were sat there up at the cattle farm. So what started as an idea of me turning around and going, right, I've got a year off, I want to do something really constructive in my life. I want to do something that makes my mother proud. And someone says, right, go to Lesotho. It's like, where the hell's that?
Lesotho has a population of just over 2 million, but a shocking, staggering 1 in 3 of its children are orphans. Back then, one in particular, Mutsu, took a shine to Harry.
Yes. I got a mumble there, and it was Harry. Oh, yes. And there was a whole group of kids that I met, and for some reason, I can't remember why, we just sort of latched onto each other. And he was, he was tiny. And I certainly remember his little hand in my hand and going to plant the tree and pouring water on it. And his little wellies that we gave him, he never took them off even when he outgrew them, and even in the middle of the summer, he was still wearing wellies. There's always 1 or 2 kids that sort of stand out from the rest, and he was certainly one of them. Yeah, these are the wellies. Does it look cool?
Abandoned as a tiny boy, Mutsu is still being cared for by one of the prince's charitable partners here. Today, Harry is on his way there.
Survived, it's grown up. The fence that we built is still there. He's in charge of the garden, along with a couple of the other boys. And at that age, he's got a serious responsibility in life, and that's great. Obviously, I would prefer it in a weird way for him not to have been there, and for us not to know where he was, because then we know that he's happy with a family member. But sadly for him, that's not the case.
They hide themselves in there.
They hide? How many? Lots?
Maybe 10.
10?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Are you excited to see this person here?
No. A little bit.
So how did we get here? Well, let's wind back to that first visit when Harry was looked after by a prince who's also a second son.
When he first came out during his gap year, there was a huge electrical storm on arrival. And he looked at me, he looked at his PPOs, and I was thinking, he's wondering, am I really in that right place at the right time? But he was up for the challenge. And immediately we went up to the mountains, and he fell in love with Lesotho, and more importantly, he fell in love with the children of Lesotho.
The two princes had both lost their mothers in tragic circumstances.
During that period, when we were walking, riding horses, sleeping out, he allowed himself to begin to form some thoughts of what's next.
It was no exaggeration to say that HIV and AIDS was hollowing out Lesotho, with many thousands of children left to fend for themselves. The two princes decided enough was enough.
Something inside me said, you cannot experience what you've experienced in the place, the beauty of the place that you've been to, and yet the hideousness of what's actually attacking these people and what's attacking the young generation without actually giving something back. And that's when I teamed up with Prince Asa and decided to do something about it.
But then the issue of the name came up. What are we going to call this? Then I think it was widely accepted that Sintabale meaning forget-me-not. Not only the flower, but the significance of saying Harry's mum, Princess Di, and my mum were both very strong figures. And what they were doing, we're carrying on their legacy.
How much was Say-So himself? Because you had this very unhappy bond, you know, both lost your mothers. The whole notion of starting a charity, how much of that was about, do you think, your connection with him?
I don't know, there was just this special bond that we both got it. I mean, he knew that I was there, he knew that I cared, he knew that I had passion to help in whatever way I could. And at that stage, I had no mechanism to be able to start a charity or make any more of an impact than just literally being the ginger white prince who's come to try and make these kids laugh. That's what it was. There's obviously a connection of some sorts, the fact that we both lost our mothers at different ages and in very different circumstances. But his mother stood for something, and my mother stood for something as well. To a certain extent, there's a lot of unfinished business, unfinished work that my mother never completed. I'm not suggesting that either of us is going to take on that mantle, but you know, naturally, there is a crossover of some of the passions between myself and William that the two of us share with what our mother started.
His mother would be so proud of him. Harry has done great work for 10 years. I think he was 19 when he first went to Africa. And it's kind of taken a big part of his life over because he really cares.
How much is she still a guide for you? I often think that the British stiff upper lip suggests you're supposed to get over something that terrible quite quickly, but I guess the reality is it keeps popping up in your life in a million ways.
Yeah, I mean, there's the constant reminder, of course there is, you know, occasionally when you open a newspaper or I think there's a huge majority of the British public especially, who every time they see myself or my brother, look at us and then think of our mother.
The long and the short of it is this. Harry has grafted away to keep this charity going, and now he has very big plans. Time, then, to get his hands dirty. A cynic might say, why is a British prince talking so much about a place so far from home?
Why Africa in the first place? Why have you been spending so much time there? Why are you so committed to it?
Numerous reasons, I guess. I think of the first time that I went to... I don't know how old I was when I first went to Africa. I was tiny. I went to, I think, with my dad to a Spice Girl concert in Johannesburg, perhaps.
Yes.
Not that I'm particularly proud
Not
of.
that that's stuck in your mind.
No,
or anything, yeah.
but weirdly, that was one of the first times I went there. And then I think in 1997 I went to Botswana, and that's when I really fell in love with Africa and what it has to offer. I think anybody that I've spoken to who's been to Africa, most of the people get it, and Africa gets them. For me personally, it's an escape. And now not only have I found that escape, but I've found a way to try and use the name and the position for good. So for me, I have this love of Africa, which will never disappear. It will be there, and I hope that it carries on, with my children as well.
Wanting to help is one thing. Working out how is considerably more difficult. HIV and AIDS can be kept at bay by drugs now, but the stigma is so great here that many children simply won't take them. Life-saving education is the purpose of this new centre, being built in a very particular location.
Tababusu is historically a mountain that we as Basotho and believe is extremely sacred. And we are at the bottom of that very sacred mountain, evoking those sentiments, evoking that history, that here we're establishing a Mama Hato Centre for the children of Lesotho, where we are wishing to rally all the forces that together we need to defeat HIV and defeat vulnerability in this country.
The construction of the Children's Centre was entirely funded by the charity. Of its kind, in its place, it was a really pretty ambitious concept, more of a village in all.
To think 10 years ago where Centre Bali was, and now we're building this 22, 23 building project, I think it's nuts. This is probably the biggest project that Lesotho's had for years. We want it looking its best, so that all the people that have doubted us and people that are sort of designed to criticise, but this is fantastic.
At this point, the opening of the centre was a year away, and both princes were on site to get their hands dirty helping to build the entrance and demonstrate their really excellent construction skills.
You know what you're doing?
I have no idea.
He's relatively new to the game, but there's no, oh, look what they're doing, they're not doing it right. No, we all pull together and make sure we're all doing it right. He can probably teach us a few things as well. So that's the great thing about working together.
This is the main gate of the centre, and it's going to be clad in stone. That's why you see us trying to chisel away.
We've been looking for a successful project that we can take under our wing and grow and perfect. And now we're building a purpose-built centre up at Tababusu. The land was offered by the King, by His Majesty, because it's sacred land. So the two just seem to fit really well together.
This centre will allow us to provide care and support for about 4 times as many children as we currently can with our programmes in Lesotho. So it's going to be a really important place where children can come, whether they're HIV positive or whether they've got disability or are just very vulnerable children, where they can come, spend some time here, get all the support and care that they need, and we'll have a purpose-built facility for them with all of the kind of things that we need.
I take huge satisfaction out of putting smiles on other people's faces. I don't have any reason to explain that, but I suppose it's different for me because I view that as being my role. I always look at myself thinking, if there was somebody else in this role, could they do better? And that comes back to my competitive streak, because if someone could do better, then I'm not doing enough. I think anybody in my situation, or anybody in Prince Soso's situation, would be doing exactly what we're doing, because you only have to spend a day here with the kids and realise what you're doing is fantastic.
critic might say, though, exactly that. You're escaping. You're a British prince. Why aren't you here concentrating on things here? Why are you going out to Africa?
I never went there to start up a charity. That was not my plan. I'm not one of those people who wants to started a charity in Africa to my list of things that I know I need to do before I die, because I'm not like that. For me personally, I get a huge kick out of helping people that in certain areas aren't being helped as much as I think they should be. Like Lesotho, yes, I can escape there, but while escaping there, it gives me this huge ability to be able to be myself and do things the way that I want to do them when it works.
Lesotho might be in southern Africa, but its terrain is mountainous, it frequently snows, and the temperatures sometimes drop far below zero. Whilst building work on the centre continues, Say-So takes Harry back to one of their first formative projects, providing education for herd boys.
Right at the beginning, we sat down and tried to work out where we could have the biggest effect and where we thought the biggest problem was. There's a huge majority of very, very young boys, kids aged 9, 10, all the way up to 17, 18, with no education at all. And it just seemed, if we're going to make a difference anywhere, that's where we really need to make the difference, because it's wrong that a 9, 10-year-old kid should be armed with a stick, wrapped in a blanket and a pair of wellies, and that's all they own, up in the mountains, 2,500 metres or whatever it is. That, to me, seems incredibly wrong. And
one of a special group of youngsters here called herd boys, but maybe in the UK it will be understood more as shepherds. They're having to herd animals way up in the mountains, several miles away from any civilization, for 6 months, 7 months at a time. Now, these guys don't get any education, but more importantly, when we relate that non-education to the fact of them not being given the advantage of knowledge of HIV, those are very dangerous mix.
It is a good sense. About ding, Marawa Sona, Onunzo Leting, Hobani, Renenzero Hona Hokana Sekuru, Handa Dileboma, Everest had can't lily jarum, Manzibua, Rahan, Sarahona, Horir.
the Herd Boys project is huge for us. We've built a few schools in some of the most remote places in Lesotho, and these kids are walking, 3 to 5 hours away to come to learn every single evening after the day's finished. And we've got volunteer teachers teaching them, and they come and they want to learn. They get a hot meal, they get a blanket, they get new wellies, gloves if they need it during the winter.
Because of all your efforts in building the school and the promises that are coming in the future, you'll be an honorary citizen of this village and this community because of your good deeds.
We hope, Centre Bali, that you're able to come as many times as possible and learn and shelter and everything else that comes with this building. And we hope that you can spread the word to everybody else, all the other herd boys, no matter what age, however young and small. And then the word will travel that places like this are available for you to learn and to eat, and so that you can have a better life.
Lesotho might be beautiful, but it can be a tough place too. It is not just shepherds and orphans, but the ill and the disabled who struggle to survive. Another centre is designed to help them.
Quite funny, aren't they?
Oh! Spitting. So sweet. So these guys are in charge of the farm down here?
So whoever shows interest in piggery, we focus on that to help him get all the skills that is based on piggery.
And they milk the cows as well?
They milk the cows, they
There are chickens in there?
Yes, there are chickens in there. They are running away now.
Uh-oh.
This is part of the learning project because our kids, they don't learn much of the academic skills. So pigs are part of the project because at the end, they also supplement the proteins that the kids eat at the kitchen. This is the implementation of that exit strategy that we say. They are not there for the rest of their lives.
Yeah,
they need to learn skills at the center and then come back at home, implement those skills, help them to live and contribute something in their families.
At this particular centre, which Centre Bali helps fund, they run a graduate programme aimed at developing life skills, farming, woodwork, gardening, cooking.
No? No?
No.
More sugar?
No.
Flour?
What is it that you're making?
Those, obviously. I hope. Or in that? Yeah.
Lovely pizza.
When they turn around and say no, it's been off your mind. More?
Yes.
Sure that was. I should be doing that bit. Because it's really easy. Okay, I'll put it in. Stage 3.
The school is actually working on having its own fund, maybe a saving fund, so that if anything happens, then they can actually use that money for other things. So we make this choice so that they can go back to the school account.
Kids can make anything out of papier-mâché that they can sell later on. The issue is to turn disabled children into young entrepreneurs. So this is how Centre Bali now works with partners. This is part of our new approach of outreach.
How's it going?
Unlike in the past where they were cast saying they cannot do anything in life, we are proving everybody wrong. We are saying disability is not inability.
I love working here. It's the best thing that has ever happened in my whole life. These kids are fantastic.
You'll probably have guessed by now these projects don't come cheap. But one thing you can say about Harry, when he's fired up, he is ruthless, especially when it comes to phoning a friend.
If one of your princes calls you up and says, sing some songs to bring more awareness to something, of course we'll do it. Yeah.
So, we were discussing Phone a Friend. Well, today, Grammy Award-winning soul singer Joss Stone, an ambassador for the charity, is visiting another of its projects, a school for the blind.
Here we are. This is a school called St Bernadette's Centre for the Blind. They help them to read Braille and then they can do their schooling, their education just as any normal kid would. Obviously, music is a big deal for people that can't see.
Good to see you.
Is that the Centre Ballet song?
Well, they've been practicing a few songs, actually.
Oh, okay.
So I'm sure you're going to be incorporated in one of them.
Oh, no.
I hope they don't embarrass you or something.
I hope I don't embarrass myself. Hiya. I'm Joss. Nice to meet you. How you doing? I'm Joss. How you doing? Hiya. My name's Joss. What's your name? I think they've written it down in Braille, so they know the words.
happened to this morning when I woke up hungover? What happened to these people walking hand in hand? Let's see this day like a newborn baby. Want to feel the tender. This is for me like mine. Never felt before. Yeah, everybody wants crazy. We're part of the land. We're together.
My job, it is just making music, let's be clear. I'm not a heart surgeon or anything as fantastic as that. But I do believe that music brings people together and inspires people to move in a positive direction.
You've kept this charity going all this time. I don't need to tell you it takes a lot of money to keep a charity going. One of the things I really noticed about you, you're quite, actually like your mum and your dad, you're quite entrepreneurial. You just make stuff happen. And you're actually, in a good way, incredibly brazen about who you call for favours. When you pick up the phone to a Michelle Obama or a Chris Martin and say, wait, could you come and play in a concert? Could you do the... I mean, what goes through your mind? Do you think, oh, God, I wonder if they'll say no? Or do you just think, I can do it? That's the privilege of my position. I'm going to get in and do it.
To be brutally honest, I like to think that the favours that I ask for, people know that it's not for me. It's for the cause. It's for the benefit of the charity, whatever it be, and obviously for the pleasure of numerous other people who get to come along and buy a ticket. I'm privileged enough to be in this position, but I'm asking not for myself, I'm asking for the Prince Harry bit. People have always been wanting to help. Hopefully they see me as being another one of them, just in a different role. You know, whether you're Chris Martin from Coldplay, whether you're Michelle Obama, it doesn't matter who you are. If you're in a position of authority or a position where you can make a difference, then if somebody else is asking you to help out, then of course you'd say yes. Where I can, I try and help out other people as well. It's obviously slightly harder and I can't dance or sing, so it makes it a little bit tricky, but...
It's a matter of opinion on me.
It is a matter of opinion. But I don't have any problems with ringing up and asking for favours if it fits. I'm all about trying to join people together for one great cause.
This summer, Harry was at it again, phoning around for a concert in his own back garden in Kensington Palace.
So, ladies and gentlemen, fresh from making Glastonbury glow, one of our own Coldplay!
I was nervous to work with him because I'm never quite sure how to pronounce Lesotho or Lesotho or Lesotho. So I held off as long as I could. I kept saying no, just because I didn't want to have to pronounce it wrong on stage. But after a number of years, I thought, you know what? I'll go for it. It's Lesotho, and we'll do the gig. We as a band are interested in being useful in whatever way possible. And the way we do that is normally just by singing, but standing next to the right person while we're singing to show that we care about something. So the reason why we get behind what Prince Harry's into is because we believe in it too, and I'm always happy to align with someone who I think is being brave with their position. I think we should all be humanitarian ambassadors because we're all magical and marvellous. The more people that remind everyone of their individual magic, the better. HIV and AIDS is a giant epidemic and affects so many young people, especially in Africa, who didn't ask to get it, didn't do anything to get it. So I always feel like, well, that could be me. I could be them. So if one of your princes calls you up and says, sing some songs to bring more awareness to something, of course we'll do it.
Thank you to Coldplay. Thank you so much. You've rocked the palace. You've rocked the palace.
So many years on, it seems odd to be talking about the stigma surrounding HIV and AIDS. But it is there, sure enough. One way Harry draws attention to it is by getting himself tested.
So what we're going to do is an HIV test. It's an instant test. It only takes about a minute to do. It's probably one of the best ways to indicate whether one might have HIV or not.
You know, just by going down and having a simple blood test myself. The request for home testing kits was up 500% or something. So for me, this is completely achievable.
Straight away, as I can tell you here, you have an HIV non-reactive result here.
All right.
So everything is fine.
Others are not so lucky, of course. But the key is to try and teach people that the disease is not these days a death sentence, that you can live with it, and many do.
There's clearly so much stigma surrounding the issue of HIV and AIDS. The lack of understanding of the difference between the two of them is huge. There are so many kids and people that end up dying HIV positive. Their immune system is so broken down that a very simple cold could end up killing them. So the key to Centre Bali going forward is this psychosocial care bit around adolescents. Today, you know, HIV, AIDS is the #1 killer of adolescents across sub-Saharan Africa.
Because kids don't take their drugs and...
Yeah. In Lesotho, as an example, you've got a bunch of kids who have absolutely no idea about HIV. They're not allowed to talk about it. And now we've got the drugs and the pills to be able to give these kids a healthy, happy, long life, yet we're not educating them or empowering them to make their own decisions. You can't just give people medication and go, right, if you take this for the rest of your life, twice a day, you'll be fine. It just doesn't work like that.
All of which brings us back to the central project, which is to educate children about a disease that stalks their world. The approach represented in everyday ways, like with a football, and open up a conversation.
HIV, 10 years ago, 30 years ago, when it first came out, it was almost like a death sentence. But now we know better. We are saying, come out in the open, be tested, you be put on medication, and your life can be prolonged and you can be a healthy, bubbly, energetic person. So these kids here, they're jumping up and down. It just shows that it is not the end of your life. You can choose to live longer and healthier if you want to do so.
We offer a lot of psychosocial support for those kids and make sure that they get into treatment and stay on treatment. That's really, really important in this country with such high HIV prevalence.
It is important for children living with HIV to know about the support that's available to them, because when a child is living with HIV, it's not something that's usually openly spoken about. And it is possible that that child feels really, really alone because they really don't have any other spaces where they can talk about this openly, which is why we actually do have this camp, so the children can have a place to engage with HIV and talk about it. When they're really feeling particularly challenged with the fact that they live with HIV, it's important for them to know where they can go. Because even just the knowledge that there's somebody somewhere who will support me is really, really important for a child.
These kids are more than willing to accept amongst their peer group that, fine, you know, we are different, but with medication we can still have a long and happy life. And if you don't talk about it, then how can we help you?
Whilst the children are encouraged to be open about HIV in the Centre Bali camps, outside, as we've said, the stigma is still there, so we have shielded the children's identities.
We have a responsibility to educate these kids on what it is that they've got, how they can look after themselves, and more importantly, how they can look after everybody else around them. And talking about it, bizarrely, is one of the easiest and quickest solutions.
So while the HIV programs continue, Harry heads back to the more general work supporting orphans. It's not hard to see why he feels at home here. For a man who's sometimes raged against his fate, the ability to help young boys like Mutsu is clearly effective therapy.
If we can educate the younger generation on all the things that they need to be educated in, then they can make the decisions that they feel is right for their village, for their community, for their country. I've got a long-term vision, and Centre Bali is part of it.
I would like to welcome you all our visitors, especially Prince Harry. Especially Prince Harry, your presence here shows that the love and the care you have for us. May God bless you. I would like to say thank you.
But when all is said and done, no one really thought he'd still be coming here more than 10 years on. Fired up he may be, ruthless even, but he's a very persistent man too. It is the grand opening day. After many years of planning and construction, Centre Bali's flagship Mamahato Centre, named after Prince Seso's mother, is finally about to open. It is no mean feat, almost a village in its own right, with dormitories and kitchens, a fully functioning clinic, even a football pitch. For Harry, it is the symbolic end of one journey, but perhaps the beginning of another.
For me, this is a moment just to be able to relax, step back and appreciate where we've come in 10 years. Yes, we've had a rocky road. Sounds like a biscuit. In fact, it is a biscuit. But it's been a rocky road up until this point. But now we've got to this. And I look around and I climbed up the water tower early and looked down. We've created a village, which is so excessive. It's amazing. So I think we've struck exactly the right chord. This is luxury housing for the kids. But they will hopefully want to go home and take their memories back and tell their mates, and then their mates will want to come down as well. So that's what it's all about. It's all about spreading the word and changing as many lives as possible. And it's simple. It's really simple.
The light at the end of the tunnel is actually quite close. It's very achievable what they're doing. So you can see it actually moving forward, whereas a lot of places I've visited, I see the light, but it's so far, and that's kind of depressing, but not here. That's not happening here. I can say I've been there. I have seen the empty field where they said they were going to build the Mamahato Centre. And then I went there 2 years later, and they have built it. And they are helping loads of people understand and deal with HIV and AIDS. They are doing it.
This has taken us 10 years to get to this point. Putting something in concrete, something that will last forever, means a huge amount to myself, to say so, and to everybody on the Centre Bali board, and also all our partners as well, I think. And to me, that's a small success in a very long journey. To the kids, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. You see the smiles on their faces. The first camp is next week. So when you've got 96 kids running around this place, using the rooms, once it feels lived in, then it gets to a point where you really know that it's working. At the moment, with all these cameras and all these people, and to me, I need to see kids running around. But they seem pretty happy with the place. It's certainly bigger than we planned, and it looks damn nice. So I'm pretty chuffed. Yeah.
We are putting a stake on the ground and saying no more. No more unnecessary deaths. We need our children, we need our society to be happy, healthy, and productive. And this is where we're putting the stake on the ground with this camp and saying we are fighting against HIV and AIDS.
We hope to reach in excess of 1,500 kids. So this place will be full of screaming children, HIV-positive children that will come here to learn about the disease they have, how to take antiretrovirals, and how to speak out for themselves and learn about their issues and learn how to cope and deal with this.
And we will do a lot more in the next 5 years. We're going to be taking this model of psychosocial support for children living with HIV and going into 4 or 5 other Southern African countries. So there's a huge amount to do, but we're very positive that we've got the right programme and we can do it.
It is Harry himself who most clearly articulates why he has been on this particular journey.
I couldn't believe that so many children had been robbed of their childhoods by extreme poverty and the ravages of HIV and AIDS. Behind those smiles, it was clear they desperately needed care, attention, and above all, love. I felt an overwhelming connection to many of the children I met. We shared a similar feeling of loss. Having a loved one in my case a parent, snatched away so suddenly. I, like them, knew there would always be a gaping hole that could never be filled.
And a key part of the journey, of course, has been his friendship with Prince Seso.
That friendship started from the very first day. We can freely tell each other what is going wrong, freely tell each other what's going right, and what the next steps ought to be.
Lesotho will always be the heart of Centre Bali, no matter what. We've proven it within Lesotho. We know where else we can go. We can go to Botswana, we can go to Malawi, we can go everywhere else. And yes, there'll be different challenges there. But geographically, I don't think anything will be as hard as Lesotho. So why not? If you've proven a model and it's scalable, why not try and help as many young people as you can? Because at the end of the day, Tom, for me, this is not just about HIV. This is about family planning. This is about empowering women to be able to make their own decisions.
It hasn't been easy to keep this charity going, and now Harry is clearly very glad he's kept it growing.
I now view life very, very differently to what it used to be. I used to bury my head in the sand and just let the sort of everything around you just sort of tear you to pieces. And now, for me, I can see exactly where I want to take it. So the fact that I've managed to keep Centre Bali going, or we've managed to keep Centre Bali going for the last 10, 11 years, has been fantastic, because now everything else that I'm involved with makes sense to me, and I'm just getting started. You know, I always feel as though I need to make something of my life. I was fighting the system, going, I don't want to be this person. You know, my mother died when I was very, very young, and I don't want to be in this position. But now I'm so, I don't know, energized.
Fired up is the word that comes to mind.
Fired up and energized to be lucky enough to be in a position to make a difference.
About a year after the opening of that flagship centre, Centre Bali ran its first camps for adolescents living with HIV in Botswana, the start of a planned expansion across sub-Saharan Africa.
You must go and see the work. You must go and see what's happening. Going to see the result of it is the enchanting part, because you see how grateful people are, how much you've changed their lives. It makes you want to do more. If his mother was alive, she'd still be doing the work that she set out to be doing, and he's carrying it on in the best possible way.
If you're me, if you're your average Joe, if whoever you are, if you can't affect politics and change the big things in the world, then just do whatever you can do, whether it's in your local community, your village, your local church, walking down the street, opening a door for an old lady, helping them cross the road, whatever it is, just do good. Why wouldn't you? We're flooding everybody's minds with negative stories. And then every time a good story comes around, everyone goes nuts about it. Well, let's make a bigger thing about the good stories, and let's make them more often and more frequent, because the good stories is what make people tick every day. Surely, you know? It's fun to be good, and it's boring to be bad. But you can be naughty as well.